This is Cynthia from Really Clear, and today I'm going to talk about duplicate stitch. Duplicate stitch is named because you're actually duplicating the way a stitch looks. You're embroidering on top of the stitches though. So I have here a shawl with some words on it, but you can use duplicate stitch for Christmas stockings or all kinds of things. So let's get started and learn how to do it. The first thing is you're going to have a graph of some kind, and I'm working on the word unless right now. I decided to work from right to left on the graph just because I felt like it, but you can work in any direction you want. It makes no difference. And the first thing I'm going to do is count how many stitches between the last stitch in this row and the first stitch in the next row. So if I count here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches between. So I'll start on the 5th stitch from the bottom row. I'm not counting up here, I'm working down here. So that's the important part. Now, you can work from right to left or left to right, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to work from right to left because there's less to count and less to mess up that way. I would advise if you're going to work on duplicate stitch on fingering weight yarn or something small like this, that you do a couple of things. One is I sewed a line in here to show me where the rows are, but if I had it to do over again, I would put a lifeline in. So if I had a lifeline where the row is, then I would be very confident that that's where to start. The other thing that I would do is use a magnifier. So I'm using a product called Mag Eyes. It's spelled Mageyes, and it looks kind of like this. It's like a little glasses. It's kind of dorky looking, but they do work really well. And you could also get another kind of magnifier or something. So whatever works for you. But there's my line. And so the first thing I'm going to do is figure out what row I'm in. And we want it again, 4 stitches between. So here's stitch 1. And then I have to figure out that it's in the same row, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to actually start on the 5th stitch. And again, you can see how a lifeline would make this much less difficult to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th one is right there. So I'm going to come up on the 5th one. Now later I'm going to weave in this tail, but right now this tail is going to get in the way. So what I do is I take a piece of tape, and I actually have been just taping down that tail to keep it out of my way. I use the kind of tape that isn't terribly sticky, and that works great. Alrighty, so we've got the first stitch underway, and if you look at the way stitches are formed, you have the stitch, it goes behind this stitch, and then it goes down again. It's very easy to mess up duplicate stitch because you keep thinking that you need to go here. But that's not the way the stitch goes. You see the back part of the stitch is back behind the stitch that's above it. So you actually want to go above it and in. And then you're going to go down. And then you're going to go to the stitch that's next door to it. So I'm going to go here, and I'm looking at 3 stitches. I'm going to go again to the stitch that's above the current stitch, because that's how the stitch is formed, and I'm going to go down. Now, let me get this out of the way. Be careful when you cut this lifeline that you don't cut your shawl. That would be sad. Now I've come up behind and I'm going down, and if I want to, I can go down in this stitch and then straight up to start the next stitch. If you're left-handed, you may want to go in the opposite direction from left to right, but I like going from right to left because I'm right-handed. So there's that. I'm going to go down. And now the next part of the letter is going up just a wee bit. So I'm going along this line and I have to go up to the left. So I've gone down. Now I have my 3 stitches, and now the next stitch that I'm forming is starting with a base there. I always find it easier, as I said, to go from bottom to top. So I'm going to go there, go in, and down. And now I have to kind of make like Fair Isle and work across. And you could have started here and then gone down that way and up. It would have been more logical, but as I said, I'm not a very good counter, so I tend to like to count the least amount possible. Alrighty. So my next part of my letter is going to be just the opposite of this one, so it's going to be to the right and up one. So I'm going up here. And that was the exact wrong spot, so we're going to take it out. Teaching moment. Okay. And I knew I was wrong instantly because I'm looking for the V that goes up on each side. So how about we go here instead, and that will be much better. We go in and down. Now you can try going up like this. I have found that I'm less successful. I don't know, it just looks kind of messy whenever I do that. So I tend not to, but I wanted to show you. There, it's not as bad. Also, as you're working, just kind of push and pull on those stitches with your needle and get them a little bit flatter. They're always going to be a little bit bumpy, and that's okay because they're sitting on top of the stitch below them. So naturally, they're going to be a little bit bumpy. Okay, now I'm going over to here. And up and down. And then I'm going to go one more up, over, and down. This one gets a stitch right next to it. This is very much like cross stitch. If you've ever worked that, it's almost identical except that you're making V's, not X's. So I very much enjoy cross stitch, and if you've never been into it, maybe this is a good introduction. Okay, and now I'm going to go sideways but up one. And there. And I'm going to go up and do 3 across. When I started this, I wasn't as fast at it. You get faster by starting to really recognize what the stitches look like. And honestly, doing duplicate stitch helped me to see stitches in a row much better than I ever could. So I really think this is a great skill. It's not quite as fast as doing Fair Isle, but sometimes it's the slow things in life that make them more enjoyable. And I have one more stitch to do. Alrighty. Now before I stop, I'm going to double check that everything looks like it's aligned, and it does, so I think I'm good there. And both of those letters are aligned with the F that's on the other side of them. So I think I'm going to be brave and go ahead and weave in the ends. When I do that, I can take the tape off now. When I weave in an end, I just kind of go into the stitches that I just made below, and I go in 1,000,000 times, or maybe 5 or 6 times. I'm fairly paranoid, so I go in a lot. And that should do it. I'm going to clip my yarn, leave a little bit of a tail. And I have completed an S. I'm just going to weave in the other tail, and we're good to go. And then what I always do is cross out the letter I just did. I don't need to cross it out because I know right where I am, but it sure feels satisfying to do that, so I highly advise this. Have fun doing duplicate stitch.